Good morning, everybody, and Peter McKnoulty. Great to have you here today to our question and answer session today for Rural Succession Solutions. So, g'day, Peter.
G'day, Mark, and g'day, everyone, and thanks, Mark, for the invitation.
It's a pleasure. We did all that work together on the forums must be a couple of years ago now. So,
yep. Mm-hmm.
And done a lot of work together in the past, Peter. So great to have you here today.
Yes.
Peter,
I won't actually tell people how long ago it was we first met. Must be at least 10 years ago now, I think.
let's just say 10 and leave it at that.
We will.
Now, Peter, you've got a business here in Australia called Transition Planning Australia. Do you just want to quickly cover off on that before we start getting into some of the questions that I've got for you today?
Sure. Okay. So Transition Planning Australia assists business owners and farmers and graziers, in fact, anyone in their transition from full-time work or business to the next phase of life, whatever that may look like. I guess the key messages around it are that it's a relatively new concept in Australia. It's really required, and hopefully people will get a better feel for the sorts of things that we do as we go through the next half hour or so. But it's a relatively new concept, and the key is that it's important to plan a life after your business on the farm or whatever, if you're actually going to get let go and remain healthy and happy. And there's lots of examples of that. I guess the tagline can be, there is no succession without transition. So there won't be a succession in the business unless the owner transitions to something else, because they won't let go otherwise.
Gee, that's never happened before.
No, that's right. And that may have something to do with why I'm in the business. Yeah,
that's why you're in the business, and why we're talking about this. Peter, as I say to everyone watching, you're a man who has, for a short number of years that you've been in the world, you've got a huge number of years of experience in regard to estate planning, succession planning, and now transition planning. Do you just want to quickly give us a short background on what got you into this and where you came from to end up where you are, so to speak?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a lawyer. I was a partner with McKellar Lawyers in Brisbane for 25 years. Still a consultant there, and you can see I'm in my McKellar office today. And my practice was tax, business structuring, estate planning, and succession planning. And I found quite often, particularly in the family succession, intergenerational work, dad won't let go was the common catch cry, and I could design these brilliant intergenerational handover schemes, which covering the tax and the legal and commercial and the emotional. I found I was sort of 1 part lawyer and 9 parts counsellor most of the time in these matters. I could cover off all those things, but then unless mum and dad won't let go, it was all just a waste of time. So that's what got me looking, and I found some material in Boston with Successful Transition Planning Institute, and have now adapted that to the Australian situation, and hence Transition Planning Australia.
Yeah, and look, it's a fantastic process and a fantastic product that you've brought out to Australia, Peter. And having worked with a few clients together with this, it's very much needed. I guess just as a quick background for what we do, as my role in what we do really is a facilitator in the whole process, the estate and succession planning process. And when I first started, it was kind of me, and we'd find the lawyer that needed to be involved, and we thought that, and obviously the accountant for the information, and we sort of thought, okay, that's all we need in succession planning and estate planning, and then all the issues that you talk about, dad wanting to die with his boots on, setting up plans for dad to let go and the son to come through. That was kind of where we wanted to go, and then dad wouldn't let go. And I mean, I have horror stories of let's call them sons in their 60s, where dad's still absolutely 100% ownership, calling all the shots and threatening his son if he doesn't do as he's told, he'll give the farm to his daughter, the son's sister, and all those sorts of things. And so nowadays, in what we do, it's very much it's a team role, and Peter, from the work we've done in the forums and other workshops we've done together, we work with accountants, solicitors. We work with yourself as a transition planner to help people understand that there is life after being the cow cocky, so to speak. We work with counsellors, mental health practitioners, financial planners, and some others sometimes from time to time, because it really is a team approach, succession planning and estate planning. And Peter, you're a very important part, because one of the most common things that comes up is dad doesn't want to let go, and and it's all about identity, isn't it, Pete?
It's absolutely right. And when you stop and think about it, I've been there and done that in my role at McKnoulty Robertson. 25 years a partner in a big city law firm. When I actually decided that I'd change, become a consultant, and start moving into other things, all of a sudden it was, bloody hell! I'm a partner at McKnoulty Robertson. What the hell am I when I'm not that? It's all about identity, and a lot of people that we're talking about have spent their whole life on the farm, and that is their identity. And who are they when they are not doing that? And that's not something that just happens overnight or without thought or planning. You actually need to put the time into planning that next phase of life. It's absolutely understandable, if we've all been doing it for 40 or 50 years, when you stop doing it, there is a fear around that, undoubtedly, and of course, most people of our generation and then some, fear and emotions, they're just dirty words. There's no room for them in our lives, and so you can't admit the fact that you are actually a bit worried about what you're going to do. So you've got to take the time to do it, and build a new identity, and that's part of what our process is about.
You mean middle-aged people like us, Peter?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, 40-year-olds.
Oh, wasn't that long ago?
Getting longer.
No, that's right. I always relate to the cattle farm owner walking down the street in West Whoop Whoop, and everyone goes, oh, there's Mr. Jones, so to speak. He's the owner of Whoop Whoop property, so to and that father's identity is the fact, and his ego is tied to the fact that when they walk downtown, they walk into any place, everyone knows who they are, they have respect for what they've achieved through their life. So to then take that away and plonk them into Toowoomba or Wagga or something like that off the property and say, okay, now you can get on with your life, Dad, go and play golf, play bowls, and do all that sort of stuff. That's a bridge too far, and what you've got is a real way to help people make what's called transition planning, is to make that transition. So, when you think about people that are, and retirement is, I so try not to use this word retirement, Peter, but
yep.
I'm struggling as I'm sitting here right now to think up a better word. But when you get to that point in life, if you're a farm owner or just a business owner, full stop, and you get to the point where it's time to hand on to the next generation. And in fairness, when your children get to 35 years of age, I mean, really, you should be starting to think about, giving them some certainty and some security and confidence in regard to what the future looks like for them. Because at 35, what I find, I'm sure you do too, Pete, at 35, the sons and daughters coming through are like, Dad, have we got a future? Are you going to let go? Can we have a plan? Can you give us a bit of a timeline? Give us some certainty, or do we go off and do something else? Do we go and find a life off farm and whatever? But when people are getting to that age when the bull can chase the cattle farmer up the fence faster than they used to be able to, and when they can't jump up onto the tractor to plough the fields like they used to be able to as quickly, men and women start to realise that retirement or that transition is coming. What are the key things that you like to go through with people when you're talking to them about this stage in life, Pete?
Well, I guess, look, all of those things are right, Mark, and I see it all the time. A key factor is it's not just about you, okay? Not about you being in the mid-60s or whatever. Yeah. If you're the one who's looking to retire, that's, yes, okay, we understand you've got emotions and fears about all of that, but it's not just about you. It's about the 35-year-old son or daughter or all of them who want some certainty. And and the next generation, I guess, people of our generation, and okay, maybe we're in our 50s, where people of our generation were more compliant. If mum and dad said, just sit there, we'll look after you, we'd say, well, okay, I guess they will, and we'd accept that. The mid-30s, what is that? It's probably Gen Ys, aren't they? Yeah, my kids are mid-30s, so they're Gen Ys now. They don't accept that. That's just say, well, sorry, that's not going to work for us. We want some certainty. We're out of here. So it's not just about you. This doesn't need to be a gold watch on Friday. Pack your bags, you're out of here over the weekend. Transition planning is just that. It's about planning a transition, which is something that can happen over time. So it means involving the next generation more in the operations of the business, giving them a chance to make all the mistakes that you would have made yourself. When you took over from your parents or whatever.
Never.
No, that's right, exactly. So it's so you need to give them a chance. And I suppose the other thing is to remember that, and that's another reason why transition planning is such a critical factor now. We are all going to live older than our parents did. Okay, so there was a time when you would retire at 65 or so, and you might have another 10 years, and so sitting on the porch watching Oprah and playing a bit of golf was a reasonable sort of retirement plan. But it can be 25 or 30 years now, which is a much longer time, and so you've got to spend more time actually planning that. And you must do that planning to remain happy and healthy. And I'll come on to that at some stage as we're talking.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of, I was just sitting here thinking, what are the risks that the grown-ups face, Peter? And the first one, which to me comes up a fair bit, is they worry that the kids are going to kick them off the property, don't they? They won't have somewhere to live. They have to go and live somewhere else. And yet a number of times I've seen the parents move to the cottage and the kids move to the big house so they can raise their children there. And I mean, that's okay to a point, but I always say you've got to be screaming distance away from your children. So if you're going to stay on the property, you've got to be a far enough distance away that you can't hear each other scream. So there's privacy for the parents, and there's privacy for the next generation. But what are the sorts of things that parents are scared of?
Well, it really is what I'm going to do. How am I going to fill in my time? What is my identity? It's just the uncertainty around it all. So what we say to people is, if you spend the time and actually plan the next phase, then that will help remove the uncertainty. That then reduces the fear element, takes the fear out of it, because rather than just heading into the great unknown with no idea what's going to happen, you've actually got a plan, actually something to look forward to. So rather than I don't want to go there, it's I can't wait to do what I want to do. We encourage people to think about all of those things that you haven't done in the past, or you couldn't do because you've been locked to the farm or whatever, and start thinking about those. People are often in a situation where they can actually start making a bit of a difference. They can give back to community or whatever, and they can actually find things that actually excite them. And it's as much, and I guess the probably a good time to bring up the concept of the keys to health and happiness, as we call them. To be healthy at any time in life, you need to be physically healthy. Okay, you need to be mentally healthy. You've got to have a range of social connections, and you've got to have a purpose in life. Okay, and life on the farm ticks all of those boxes. Physically healthy is easy. Plenty of mental challenges, things to keep you mentally active. Lots of social interactions, and you've got a purpose. But unless we replace and normally our activities are almost exclusively focused on the farm. Okay, so unless when we leave the farm, we need to find new activities to replace those, to remain physically healthy, mentally active, keep social connections and have a purpose in life. So what we do in the program is go through a quite structured program to help people find new activities for the next phase. It actually works at various other stages too. Any transition, it works well. I've actually built a work-life balance program, which I've run here at McKnoulty Robertson, and with great success, because lawyers, 20 or 30 something lawyers or legal assistants or anyone here, very much focus our lives around our business or what we do at work. So we help people to build a range of activities outside of work. So that helps. And getting back to the farmer situation, finding those activities helps them actually plan things for that next phase of life, and gives them a confidence that there's something afterwards and a bit more certainty about what's going to happen.
Yeah, because most are scared; they don't know what they're going to do, aren't they?
That's right.
But Peter, I'm just going to take a little bit of a turn in direction here, and just talk about money for a second. Many times, most times, farmers, graziers, whatever, rural people, if they have a great year, what do they do with their money? They reinvest it in the farm, don't they? So the money just keeps going back into the farm. So when they're transitioning the farm over to the next generation, they got two choices. They either need a commitment from the child that's taking over the farm to keep paying money to mum and dad to make sure they can live in a manner in which they'd like to be accustomed as time goes on, or, as we are trying to do with clients now, is to start having conversations around creating silos of wealth off farm, so that when the time comes for the transition, the parents have their own financial independence and aren't always having to look back over the shoulder and use the excuse to go and get involved in, the son or daughter's running of the property to get some money. So how much does the financial side come up in the work that you're doing?
It's very much part of the package. As you said earlier, Mark, we take an advisor team approach here. No different to the estate planning work that I'd be doing and what you're doing now. You've got to have I don't give the financial advice, but I work very closely with people who do. And part of it is one of the blogs I wrote once was planning your retirement's like buying a new car. So you can't walk into a car yard and say, I want to buy a car. How much is it going to cost? Well, what do you want? Do you want a Corolla or a Ferrari? The red one or you've got to know. You've got to give some, and same with retirement.
Tow a caravan, or you're going to?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And so it's the same with retirement. You've actually got to have some idea of what you want to do to know how much money you're going to need. But which is a little bit off the point of what you're saying, I suppose, but it's all related. We don't do the financial, but we certainly encourage. It really is critical to have that off-farm investment for retirement for mum and dad, and then an inheritance for those not involved in the business. So I think it's I've always encouraged that. I've been doing that for 30 years now. So
yeah, it's very once again it keeps coming back to the team approach, and I think that's so important too, because if I may, occasionally we do run into clients' advisors where they feel threatened if someone else comes along and wants to help their clients with advice and so on, and feel they can give their client advice in regard to all range of things in life. But from our point of view, and Peter, I know you as well, we're very much about dealing with specialists in each of the chosen professions, so that if your clients need financial advice, you make sure they're speaking to someone that really knows what they're talking about. If they need mental health advice or tax advice and all those sorts of things, I think the best person for the job is where we should send them, not try and do everything ourselves. And these days with compliance, you can't anyway. So
yes, true, yes,
yeah. You've been doing this for a while now, Peter, and I know you've had some great results in regard to some of the clients that have come through. And I know when we chatted briefly over the last couple of days, you you're talking about missing in Italy as one of the examples of people.
Yeah.
there's what was it? Penny finally dropped, missing in Italy, and the piano. So I'm going to put the pressure on here
I got you.
for what
Got you
these.
curious.
Got me curious.
Okay, all right.
These are people you've worked with and
Yeah,
had results with.
yeah, they are. They are. I guess the penny finally dropped was one of some business owners who were, I think, early 70s from memory, and they simply, and their accountant had been trying to get them to engage in business succession planning for some time, and they just wouldn't. They just couldn't get their head around it. And then the accountant referred them to one of our transition planning consultants in Western Australia, and Hazel went through the process with them, and the penny dropped. They finally realised, all of those fears around what am I going to do, blah blah blah, all of those things disappeared, and they actually went. They actually went ahead with their business succession planning, and it was a very successful outcome for them. So from absolutely nowhere to a very successful outcome. Missing in Italy, one of our workshops we ran, a couple were, they went through the process. They'd been together for quite a while, and during that process, they each realised that they actually wanted to go and spend a lot of time in Italy. And it was a bit like, a bit of an aha moment for them. They sold up their respective businesses, and as I say, last time we heard they were living in Italy somewhere. So yeah, exactly. Simply because, and that's the beauty of the workshops, and I think it's a process best done in a workshop. It's sort of a very safe environment. I guess we're all of an age where we'd understand what the cone of silence is from Maxwell Smart, and so it's very much a safe, confidential environment for people. And we don't get into too much into the deep and meaningful stuff, but it's an opportunity for people to speak openly. So that's it. The change of job was he was actually a business development manager for one of the institutions who did the workshop, and he was mid-40s, had kids who were in their teens, and he was spending his time on the road. He was Queensland and Northern Territory BDM, so he's never really in Brisbane, and he realised that this is excuse the French, this is a shit life I've got, because I'm spending all this time away from my kids when I should be there. And so he actually changed his jobs. He actually moved to changed from that role to another role where he was in Brisbane 95% of the time, and he was happy. Yeah, and then the piano is
I've been waiting on the piano.
The piano.
Intriguing me more
holding
than
out for the
anything.
piano. Yeah. Part of the process is of planning activities for the next phase is we go through an exercise of think of things you like doing when you were younger.
Yes.
So for me, when I go through the process for people, I stop and think, photography. I love taking photos, and so that's something I've started to do more. You can't see them, but my screens here are all photos I took in Africa a few years ago, and I love taking photos. So, but in this case, this lady who was mid-70s, she was an accountant, and she said, my father sold the piano on me when I was 15 or something, and she'd never forgiven him for it. And then 50 years later, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to buy a piano. And so she did. The Monday after the workshop finished, she went and bought a piano, and she's still happily playing it. So it's so so that's very much so that ticks a number of those boxes, keeps her mentally active, and no doubt she, the thing about playing an instrument is to join a band, then to give you a bit of, that's got something to do with my saxophone. I haven't got it out of the box too often, but same sort of thing. You've got to, it's about planning new activities, things that we want to do, preferably with other people, and that makes us more likely and more willing to
well, it makes you more interesting, Pete. I'm going to throw in the word interesting. Interesting and interested are two words that I think are really important. Interesting, you need to be interesting, but more importantly, I think it's best to be interested in what other people are doing, and then you'll never be alone. You'll never be lonely. You'll always have people around. But talking about that, I've now forgotten what it was I was going to go back to. Oh, questions. I love the fact, Pete, that what you talked about there was, I'm going to go back to the missing in Italy, is that here are two people that were just busy furrowing ahead with their work, weren't they, in their careers, by the sound of it. And it wasn't until you asked a great question that suddenly they went, wow, I'd like to go really deep down. I'd like to go travel. And I haven't really thought about it because I've been so focused on work and so engaged in work. I haven't really thought about what I want. They're always looking after their clients, other people, and lots of us are like that. You're always thinking about everyone else, not yourself. And it takes sometimes, Peter, a great question from people like us to come along and to get people to think about what's really important to them, and then they all of a sudden, I look out of all those, the piano and Italy, my favourite ones for you. but with the Italy one, it was like, wow, two people, and they actually had the same sort of dream, and they didn't know it because they never talked about it. They were too engaged in what they were doing. So so that's what I love about what you're doing. I'm liking when I hear about the things you do in your workshops, is that you're asking good questions and you're getting people to think about opportunities for them to have fun and be joyous and have happiness for the rest of their lives. It's just so important. I mean, freedom and happiness. There you go. That's the two things that I wish for everybody is, and it's what you're helping people to.
Yeah, absolutely, and the workshops. I love doing the workshops because I sort of watch the light bulbs go on around the room of people thinking of ideas. It's as I talked about it being a safe place to talk. It's brainstorming with like-minded people because the other they're never more than 8 or 10 people in a group, but all these people are going through the same thing. So you're brainstorming with like-minded people, and we have a list of activities that people think, oh, okay, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And every workshop, I always add a few more that people have come up with. So it's really it's the resources. It's a safe place for people to actually think about it, because like the people now in Italy, they just hadn't had the time to actually stop and do it before then.
Yeah. Pete, one of the things I haven't flashed up on the screen, and I wish I thought about this before we started. How do people get in touch? How do people come along to these workshops and so on? Is there a website? Is there a link somewhere that is easy, that's not 50 letters long?
No, www.transitionplan.com.au. It's an easy one. And so have a look at that. It tells our story. There's a lot of blogs, a lot of testimonials. We've put probably 150 people through the workshops now, and so there's a lot of very positive feedback there. We have on the website a retirement readiness quiz, which takes 15 or 20 minutes. It's free, and what it does, it's a simple questionnaire. Say 15 or 20 minutes just to help you start thinking about the sorts of things that you might need to think about in going through this process. And what it helps, and we then create a bit of a matrix from that and a report from that, all free of charge, and that helps your advisor team know what your issues are. So rather than your advisor saying, John and Mary, you need to do this, this, and this, the report actually is a John and Mary saying, well, these are our issues, and so therefore it's a much clearer direction as to what the next phase is and what the advisors can help you work on, and clearly the keys to happiness, whether you have enough activities in those areas. So that's how it all comes together. So the website's a good starting point.
www.transitionplan.com.au.
That's us. Yep.
Fantastic, Peter. Thanks for your time today. We're up to the 30 minutes and getting very close to it, so we'll call it quits here. But just want to thank you again. love the relationship we have over many years. Not that it's that many because we're so young still, but
that's right. At least 10, as I said. Yeah,
that's right. No, great catching up with you again. Love spending time with you, and thanks for your contribution today. It's just such an important part of what people need help with, usually in regard to getting to their estate and succession planning and helping transition to the next generation. So good job. Thanks, Pete.
Yep. Thanks, Mark. Good to talk to you, and thanks everybody. Talk soon. I'll see you.